All right, here we are again in another FSD video. This is the HW3 car with version 12.6.4 of FSD, and I want to do a direct comparison to the same route that we actually did in the Hardware 4 car on 14.2.2.4, just to see if the same navigation issues or similar ones occur. Of course, we cannot start from park, so we're just going to go ahead and back it out of the space here. Trying to do all the same route, and so far, let's see if we can get it going here. There we go. So far, FSD has looked like it is acting well in our FSD 12.6.4 version here. It sometimes doesn't do well after an update or something, but we haven't gotten a software update recently, so far we've been staying in the lanes. So I thought it'd be a good time to compare the navigation between the two, because definitely there's the biggest complaint I have about FSD, and we're actually going a different direction. So interesting. It is choosing to go a different direction than FSD 14.2.2.4 went. Doubt there's any difference in the traffic, but this is actually a more challenging route to go, because what it will have to do here is, if it doesn't go to a light that it could go to, it's going to have to do an unprotected left turn. So, I mean, hey, maybe that's more interesting. So we'll just let it do what it's going to do. But already I can see that, it's making different navigation choices than the Hardware 4 car has been making, which, to my knowledge, they should have the same map data and all of that. The only difference should be FSD and its choices to use the navigation one way or the other. And interestingly, I do think that FSD 14 probably took the better route, like I said, because what we're actually going to have to do here is we're going to have to take an unprotected left, where the Hardware 4 car did not have to do that. So really just making it harder on itself. However, we did in 14.2.2.4, we did make some challenging moves later on. So I will be interested to see if it makes those same decisions about going across the street, because there was one point where it did go across 5 lanes when it really could have just taken a right and then a left. So interesting things that we can see, compare the two versions and how they're doing. And honestly, 12.6.4, this is over a year old. It's, I don't know, maybe 15 months or something. I'm not sure how many months it is now old, but this version of FSD on the Hardware 3 cars still is very capable when it is working properly, which it doesn't always in our car, but some people have better luck in other cars, Hardware 3 cars. But when it is working in this car, it is actually able to do almost the same amount of driving for me as the Hardware 4 cars on version 14.2.2.4. And some of the things I like better. Like, for example, if I want to make sure that it's only going to go 25 in this neighborhood, I can set the max speed at 25 miles per hour, and it will not exceed 25 miles per hour. So that is a better or more flexible option that we have here in 12.6.4 than we actually have in the latest version of FSD. So there are some things that are actually even better. All right, so here is the unprotected left. Not my favorite place to try to turn. And we're sticking out way too far. This car's, they should have honked at us, honestly. We were sticking out in the road there. It wasn't dangerous unless they didn't see us. If they were kind of hugging the right side of their lane and they didn't see us, that would have been kind of dangerous. So I didn't actually like how far I got out into the road. If it, but see, that's the thing. So one of the biggest problems with 12.6.4, it cannot reverse. So in the hardware 4 car, had it been out there, it might have actually reversed. I don't know, but 12.6.4 cannot reverse. So it definitely ended up in a little bit more uncomfortable spot there. All right, so we could have gotten into this turn lane. Oh, man. All right, that, I think, was a safety disengagement. Definitely. What are we doing? I guess we're going to park in between two lanes. Oh, my gosh. Okay, so we are parked on top of... We're actually in 4 parking spaces right now, so that's a pretty poor job. But that was, in my opinion, a safety disengagement there. And that was because it hesitated. It could have gone, if it had immediately gone to turn left, it could have gone and been fine going in front of that vehicle. But instead, it was I had to disengage and actually take over, because that was just not... I was not comfortable with that at all. They definitely would have had to slam on their brakes, and it was uncomfortable as it was. So interesting. Not too impressed with that so far. So definitely 14.2.2.4, way safer. I had no safety problems with 14, and I haven't had any safety problems with 14 in a very long time. I don't know that I've had... I can't recall if I've had a safety disengagement with version 14, but if I have, it's been quite a while, and I have over 2,600 miles on it. So yeah, and this, we went 4 miles and had a safety disengagement. So I'm actually going to take this across the parking lot to park in a similar location as we had in the hardware 4 car on 14, just to give it a same setup for where it's starting from. But we definitely did a very poor parking job, as you can tell. Again, 12.6.4 is not supposed to support parking, so that's to be expected. So I'm just going to move the car, and then we will start back where we left off. Actually, it didn't even register that we got to Publix, so I will have to clear that location. All right, here we are in the same location, if not, well, almost the exact same location, I think, as we were with our last test with FSD 14.2.2.4. So we're going to back out of the space here and then just put it in FSD when it is going to do it. There we go. All right, so we are going across the street to O'Reilly Auto Parts. And the reason it did not take Publix off the route was because it did have to actually get in park. And for some reason, when it stopped in the middle of those 4 spaces back there in the parking lot, it did not put itself in park. So I had to... I think if I had just put it in park then, it probably would have been good, and it would have gone on to O'Reilly. So now we're going to try getting across to O'Reilly. I will say already, like, my confidence is much lower in version 12.6.4. Right off the bat, we did have to have a safety disengagement, and ironically, it's not at the spot that I would have thought we would have. Like, I was actually expecting that more likely to have occurred on the unprotected left, but instead we were just just turning into the parking lot, and it misjudged a car very close in front of us. So don't know why it chose to do that, but it does at least give me some much more appreciation for version 14. So yeah, I mean, I'm really thinking about maybe trading this in and trying to get that last chance for an FSD transfer, or maybe just selling the vehicle, because we probably don't need both cars anyway. But we will see. It's sad because I was hoping to track the progress of Hardware 3, but Tesla just really hasn't put any focus on Hardware 3 cars in well over a year now, and it just doesn't seem like it's going to be anytime soon that they are going to do anything about it. And in fact, the progress on FSD 14 has slowed a lot as well. All right, I think that probably it wants to back into a space. Oh, so let it do its thing. But I think it's trying to back into a space, and of course 12.6.4 cannot back up. For some reason, it's like it doesn't realize it can't back up. So it gets awkward sometimes, because it definitely could have just backed into the space here like I just did, but I did have to disengage and actually put it in the parking space myself. And now we're going to see if it does the same thing that Hardware 4 on FSD 14.2.2.4 did, and try to go across the street, across these 2 lanes in each direction and the turn lane in the middle, so 5 lanes, which not preferred in my opinion. So let's see what it does. Got to see if I can get it engaged here in the parking lot. All right, re-engaged. Yeah, so hopefully, again, my opinion of how I would actually drive this situation to get across the street is I would turn right onto the street, and then I would get in the left turn lane, and then I would proceed from there, because there's actually an entrance to the parking lot if you go that way. And it's definitely, I'm definitely got my foot on the brake ready to disengage, because we can't go right now. It's got to be. Oh, okay. All right. We did it. Wow. So I actually did that better than the FSD 14 did. It didn't pause in the middle of the road at all, and it just completed the whole maneuver in one try, and it wasn't unsafe. I mean, I definitely, again, I wouldn't prefer to go that route, because you do have to be very careful. Of course, FSD can see in both directions, so it's got a good view around the whole car the whole time. And then we're going to be awkward. Okay. So I don't know what it was doing there, what it was waiting for. So we are at our destination. We just need to find a parking spot and park. Looks like we're going to park extremely poorly. Sort of like, maybe most of the parking problems that 12.6.4 have is because it's really expecting to be able to reverse and correct the parking job, and it can't do that. So again, got to disengage, because we did not end up in a parking spot. I'm actually going to try to get over here in the, I think this is the spot here that we were in last time. So we'll park here. Yep, and then that'll clear that destination. Next destination is Red Roof Inn. And again, the navigation says, okay, we're going to get back out onto the street, turn left, and then come back over here. When again, the easiest route would just be to go across this parking lot and onto the side road to the Red Roof Inn. Instead, it's getting out on a main road, going to a light to turn left and all that. So way harder, but that's okay. We'll just let it try to do its thing. So we'll back out, get it engaged here again. See what it's going to do. It has choices, It could go a better route. If we just take a hard left here and just go down the parking lot, that'd be better. Nope, we're we're going to do it the hard way. We're going to get out onto the streets and take it from there. So, yep, I don't know why it likes to do things the hard way, but that does appear to be what we're going to do again. But that's not really any different from version 14. 14 also likes to do things the hard way. And this is the navigation thing. So I do think the navigation situation is similar between the two. All right, no more creeping. We are as far into this, as far up here, as close to the actual road as I am comfortable being. So if it's going to creep any further, I will definitely have my foot on the brake here. So see, this time it's not easy because there's a bunch of traffic. Lots of cars coming. And again, we could have avoided all of these cars had we just gone across the parking lot and ended up in the same spot. So pretty tough here. I think we're going to have to, I'm pushing it. I went ahead and pushed the accelerator. The guy behind us, I think they honked at us. I'm not sure. They were a little impatient. So I did press the accelerator there. I'm not sure if it was going to go right then. That was a good gap to go. But yeah, I just kind of had to push the car along a little bit there. All right, this is a yellow light, so we're going to have to stop. But we already crossed the stop line by a little bit, so it could have made the decision to kind of just go into the intersection and then turn, but that's okay. All right, got the arrow. All right, so this is where FSD 14 had a problem with navigation. It tried to go behind this Pep Boys instead of actually get in the Red Roof Inn parking lot. Doesn't look like we're going to do that. So this is actually better. And it looks like we're actually going to park or attempt to park. Yeah, it's going to try to back in. Again, it can't back in, but it did actually set itself up to back into this space, so I can just take over, back it into this space, and we are actually parked at the Red Roof Inn in this situation. So it actually did a better job of getting here than 14 did because it got confused about which parking lot to go into, and I had to disengage it to get it out of the Pep Boys parking lot just because I didn't want it to drive around the back of the Pep Boys. But in this case, 12.6.4 actually did a pretty good job. Now, here we are going to go a similar route. So it definitely is that the navigation shows up exactly the same. So like I suspected, the navigation, the map data, exactly the same. And a lot of the choices that the car makes about whether to follow the directions of the navigation or not, it does seem to be similar. Not much difference between those navigation choices, but definitely version 14 is much more capable than 12.6.4, and I feel much safer. So, and in fact, I don't think I'm going to bother letting it go all the way back to our original destination. Okay, yeah, I don't know why I was hesitating there. There's nothing anywhere around, so it definitely took a long pause there. Just need to park here at the racetrack. But I don't think I'm going to go to the next destination. That's just going back where we started, and really shouldn't be any trouble getting us there. So let's see what it's going to do here. it's going to try to park in a handicap spot. So it might have done a good job of parking in the handicap spot, but I didn't really want it to park there. So we are going to go ahead and call it there. But I will say I have a much bigger appreciation for hardware 4 cars and version 14.2.2.4 of FSD, because I did in fact have a safety disengagement here on 12.6.4. But other than that, I mean, you definitely got to be more alert, paying a lot more attention with 12.6.4, because it does have problems like that, and you definitely need to make sure that you're not letting it do things that it shouldn't. But still, when it's working properly, it does work for most of the drive, and would especially be nice on the interstate and long road trips. So anyway, that's it for this one. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.